Hi friends, as you all know that we have covered an important part of social security in India. Totally 11 lectures have been covered. You, if you have missed those lectures, please do watch. We will provide the link in descriptions. From today, we will be starting a very important lecturer series which can fetch you directly 13 to 14 questions in the EPFO examinations, and in 2017 also, including industrial relation, labor laws, as well as social security, you got nearly 20 questions, okay, which means is equal to 40 marks. That assures your name in the final list. So you can't skip this, that is industrial relation or labor laws or social security. So now today we'll be starting the industrial relations. We'll see there are many number of acts that need to be covered, and some of the acts we have covered in social security as well. In this lecturer we will be covering some of the acts. As this is being the introduction video, we will try to understand what is the meaning of industrial relations, how this relation is established, what are the factors that will decide the relations, and how this will impact on the business. Right. We'll start with the meaning. First we can take an example. See, the relation between the mother and the son, okay, or daughter is nothing but a blood relation. It is a family relation, right? Whereas a relation between you and your maid, that is worker in your home, is not a blood relation, right? It is just a casual relation or just an employment relation. In the same way, the relation between the employer and employee is a job related relations. Now we'll try to understand what exactly is the definition of industrial relations. The term industrial relations means the relationship between labor and management. Who is management? He either may be the manager of the organization, or he may be a part of the decision making group, right? Or he may be CEO of that organization or COO of organization, that is chief operating officer, which arises through interactive process. That means the relation arises through the interactive process. There is some of the interaction between the employees and employer. This lead to the industrial relation between them. Both labor and management interact with each other on different issues. It either may be the HR issue, it may be the standing orders, it may be the implementation of legal orders or the government orders, and some of the instructions that the employer and employee should follow in order to keep the ethical as well as moral conduct. This all will lead to the interaction between the employment, that is employee and employer, and it will establishes the industrial relations. Hope you have understood what exactly is the meaning of industrial relations. Now we will try to understand who are the parties for this industrial relations. As I said earlier, there may be employee, the another party is employer, right? And the other party may be customer, or he may be a management team, right? Or he may be a supplier. In particular, we will see who are the parties to this industrial relations and what are their roles in deciding these relations. First one is employees. Obviously, in any of the organization, employees play a huge role, right? Because any of the production or sales is carried out due to these employees. Now, the workers who provide their services to the organizations are an essential resource and contributes to the generating the desired output. In order to generate the desired output for the organization, the employee will contribute his service to that organization in return of wages. Then this relation, that is giving and taking in return of, is nothing but this industrial relations, or this will establish industrial relations. Now we will see what is the reason for which employees find maintaining sound industrial relation to be useful for them. What is that exact thing that the employee and employer or organization will maintain a sound relation in order to maintain this industrial relation? What are some reasons? We will try to understand. Sharing their views, suggestions and ideas with management to improve the business operations. Usually in an organization, the employee will work on the machines or tools, and in practical he knows what exactly is going wrong and what should be improved in order to improve the productions. Then in that time he will share his ideas. He will also suggest to the management what need to be done. He says some parts of the machine should be replaced, or any of the machine should be replaced completely. He will suggest some of the things to the management which will help for the management in order to improve their business operations or productions. We can take an example. It was a real life example in Coca-Cola company. Oh, sorry, it was a real life example in Pepsodent toothpaste company, right? Some year or in some financial year, there was a loss for the company, and the production of toothpaste has gone very less. The management was unable to understand what exactly is going wrong. Then at that time, an employee who was working on the supply chain, okay, who was working on the supply chain, just suggested that you just need to increase the whole size of this toothpaste tube. The management was unable to understand what exactly is the relation between the manufacturing of toothpaste as well as increasing the size of the hole. Although management had tried many of the ways in order to increase the production, but they were unable to increase this production, and the management took decision that let's try the option that the employer suggested. Do believe that the production of the company increased by 20% just because of increasing the tube starting opening size of the toothpaste. Then the management called the employee and asked what exactly is the reason for that. He just said that if at all you increase the slight diameter of this tube, then the person who is using the toothpaste, whenever he presses the tube, the amount of paste that is pushed out is more compared to this less diameter, right? Therefore you will get more demand as the toothpaste will begin to end soon and the customer will come back again to buy it. So this is the real life example that employee shared the suggestion for the management which helped in his business operations. Next, becoming a part of organizational decision making and ensuring the betterment of the working conditions. How? See, there are many trade unions. Okay, there are many trade unions. There are many employment unions. One example is All India Union of Employment. It is one of the old organization. See, whenever an employee is facing an issue, they will go to this unions. Then this union will talk with management and a decision is taken out. So he becomes a part of the organization decision making and ensuring the betterment of the working conditions, speaking out their problems and grievances and seeking the redressal of the same. That means whatever is the problem they will address to the union will address to the management, then his address will be resolved. Okay, if at all any issue is there, it will be resolved. Next, the second entity or part of this industrial relation is employers. Who are the employers? They will nothing but they will give jobs to the persons who are seeking or who are ready to work. They are the employers, that is boss. The simple meaning is boss of the company or management of the company. Employers are responsible for providing a favorable work environment for the employees. See, in order to work, the employees requires a favorable environment, and who provides this? The management provides it. And who is management? That is employer. That is who provides the job for the persons who is seeking or who are eligible to work. They have many rights and powers like laying off inefficient employees. If at all an employee is not working, then they will lay off him. They have many powers like taking strategic decisions such as mergers. That is, Infosys buying any other company is nothing but merger, or they are working together, it is also called merger. This decision is taken by employers. Then acquisitions or shutdown of the organization and adapting technological changes in the operations. We can see real life example in this recent pandemic. there was a lockdown of 3 months, right? In this 3 months, the employers took the decision on the saying of the government that our organization will close for 3 months, and this decision was taken by employers. So these kind of decisions will build the industrial relations, that is relation between employers and employee. Sira, there are many of the different ways in which the managers can be benefit from sound industrial relation in the organizations. What are those? Motivating the employees to give their best and gaining their trust and commitment, improving the overall efficiency and ensuring effective communication among the employees and management, dealing with problems of trade union along with negotiating of employment terms and conditions with such employee representative. That means in order to get the work done very well, or in order to increase the production of the employees, they will motivate the employees, they will talk with the employees so that there will be a favorable condition, they will address the employers issues whatever they are that are going on organization, right? By doing all this, they are in benefit of industrial relation. Now we'll see the third entity, that is government. How does the government act as an entity in between the industrial relations? See, government is also one of the party in the industrial relation, as government rules out some laws, and these laws are applicable to organizations. Who need to carry this rules or organization for organization? It is the employer, right? Employer will carry these rules that are mentioned by the government. And how it is benefit? It is benefit for the employee as well as employer. Okay, in order to do this, the government will favor the employer as well as employee in a rational way. See, before 19th century, the government didn't used to intervene in the conflicts between the employer and employee. However, later on there was a change in the attitude of the government bodies. They started regulating the industrial relations through labor courts, tribunals, for the following reasons. What are the reasons that led to the intervention of the government in order to resolve these conflicts, or in order to resolve the disputes between the employer and employees? It was because safeguarding the interest of both parties. Who are both parties? That is employer as well as employee. Ensuring that both employer and employee abide by legal terms and conditions. See, as we have discussed in Social Security in India, we have discussed Maternity Benefit Act, which was amended in 2017, right? Now, this is a legal provision that should be provided for the employee by the employer. And this is the provision for the benefit of employee. This will build a sound relation, that is industrial relation. Hence, government is indirectly acting as a party in between employer and employee, and directly acting as a party for industrial relations. Now, there is employers association. As you have discussed earlier, whenever an employee has got in trouble and he has his personal issue, he can't address it directly to the management. So he will go to his employee association, it may be unions, then the employee will go to the management. This management will resolve this issue in the meeting, and the justice is provided for the employee. See, it is an authoritative body formed to protect the interest of industrial owners. It performs the following functions to safeguard the rights of the employers: representing the owners in collective bargaining with the employees or government, and also in case of national issues. See, this is not employee association, it is employers association. That means the association of boss or owners of the organizations. All the owners of the organization come together, they will form the employers association. What is the main intention of this? They will always think of collective bargaining with the employees or government, and also in case of national issues. We have seen in news recent examples where the farmers were fighting with the PepsiCo company, okay, for production of or for growing of potatoes. Okay, for growing of potatoes, which is used in Lays by the Pepsi company. And Pepsi company had put a case on the farmers, but at that time the government intervened through the employers association, and the patent of the PepsiCo was taken back, right? And the issue was resolved by the government's intervention. How it was possible? Because the government directly interacted with the employers association, and this employers association interacted with the management of the PepsiCo company. Then it was by the collective bargaining between the PepsiCo company as well as farmers, this issue was resolved. Then, creating a proper mechanism to resolve industrial disputes, giving an insight into the employee relations in an organization and providing suggestions accordingly. Next, trade unions. As we have discussed earlier, what are trade unions? It is nothing but unions of the employees, not employers. It is the union of the employee. When the workers unite together to form an association and elect a representative among themselves for the protection of their rights and to raise their demands in front of the management, it is named as trade union. Hope you understood. See, if an employee has any issue, he can't directly approach the management, so he will go to the leader, that is elected leader. Who is elected leader? That is, he is elected democratically. He is the head of this trade unions, and trade union is directly in contact with the management. Therefore, the trade union will put this issue in front of the management, and they will tell that issue is of this person is this, and therefore you should resolve. This issue will be resolved by talking in between the management as well as trade unions, and the justice is provided for the employee. Listed below are the objectives of such associations: negotiating collectively with the administration for meeting the individual interest of the employee. Do remember, it is for meeting the individual interest of the employee. Upgrading the status of the employees in the organization. Demanding better working conditions and higher job security for the workers. Safeguarding the interest of the employees by demanding a higher level of democratic control over the decision making at the organizational, corporate and national levels. Then even court and tribunals will act as the parties for this industrial relations. How? See, if at all there is any dispute between the employer and employee, where should they go? They will go to these courts or tribunals. So these are also the part of industrial relations. You can read this from handouts. Handout will be provided in the form of PDF in the Telegram channel. You can join this Telegram channel. The link will be provided in descriptions. If you have any query, you can ask it in comment. We will try to answer your queries. Next, another important party is International Labour Organization. It is very important organization. It is the only organization which deals in the conflict relations between the employer and employers, and it always works towards the welfare of the laborers. That is International Labour Organization. International Labour Organization, on the international grounds, an association was formed under the name of International Labour Organization in the year 1919. This is very important. When this was formed, it was formed in 1919 to set up international norms and standards for dealing with industrial disputes and issues of the workers. Do remember the year when it was set up? It was in 1919, and this can be directly asked in the exam. So do remember the year. Simultaneously, an international labor code was set up to establish the recommendations and conventions for minimum international labor standards. Now they can ask the direct question: who recommends or who establishes the conventions for minimum international labor standards? Then answer will be International Labor Code. International Labor Code works under International Labor Organization, and it will look or recommends the conventions for minimum international labor standards. Now, the International Labor Code aimed to look into matters like, in EPFO exam there was an indirect question depending on this. Okay, indirect question depending on this. So by hearting these things is very important. So do read it from the PDFs or re-revise the videos. Now we'll see what were the aims that were looked after by International Labour Code. One is workers' compensation, that is minimum wage. Minimum wage should be provided. It was mentioned in International Labour Code. Employees' work duration and number of holidays. What is the number of holidays? What is the minimum number of holidays that should be provided? And what is the minimum or maximum working hours that should be worked? Women's employment, employees' safety, security, and health in the work environment, industrial relations, medical facilities and examinations, along with maternity protection. Do remember in 2017 EPFO exam, they asked a question and out of this they mentioned three of the options and one was not the other different. You should eliminate that option. In order to identify this, you should know all this. Okay. Next, factors affecting. What are the factors that are affecting the industrial relations? Socio-ethical factors. One is socio-ethical factors. What is socio-ethical factor? Interaction between the workers and management personnel become effective and complementary when both the parties possess positive thought process, values, beliefs that facilitate to develop a state of collaborative approach, willingness to help, desire for accepting risks, responsibility, to function in joint venture and application of rational judicial approach on the issues. The simple meaning of this whole para is nothing but there should be a positive thought process in between the employee and an employer. Okay, and if at all there is a positive thought process, then it will help them to better management and better running of the organization. Simple meaning is this. All these traits and attributes develop mostly from social, ethical, and cultural activities. So, the positive social, ethical, and cultural values influence interaction between the labor and management in a positive way. That is, social, ethical, and cultural activities are those things which will lead to the positive thinking or positive match thinking in between the employee and employers. Next, technological advancement. How this will affect? See, in the IT companies, if nowadays in this pandemic it has become work from home for each and every employees, right? Now, if this advancement in technology will help the employee, not employer, will employee, so that he can work from home, okay, and also can earn same amount of money that he was earning previously. And if this is provided by the employer for the employee, he will be in happy that he is making profit. He will be happy that he is with family as well as doing work. So it will maintain a relation. Technological advancement will lead to a positive interaction between employer and employer. And see, if at all that although there is a technical advancement and employer is not willing to provide employee the work from home, then it will lead to a negative impact on the employer as well as employee relation. So the use of technological advancement is also a factor that will decide the industrial relation. Next, market conditions. See, depending upon the market condition, employer will decide to hire more laborers or less laborers. How? If at all there is more demand in the market, then he need to produce more. Who? Employer. Then he will hire more laborers. This will lead to positive interaction between employee and employer. But if at all there is less demand in the market, then it will lead to he will lay off the laborers. It will lead to a negative impact of relation between employee and employer, right? This is nothing but market conditions. Next, economic conditions. See, in this pandemic there was 3 months lockdown and the government announced that the salary should not be deducted for the employees by the employer, and minimum 3 months of the salary should be provided for each and every employee. Now this will also have two phases. One is positive phase and another is negative phase. See, if at all even employer is in debt, that is he need to pay the amount back, or he has taken some loan, then he will not be able to pay full wages for the employees. Then he will deduct some of the amount. It will lead to negative impact. Whereas if employer is in profit or he has more money, then he will pay full wages to the employee. Then there will be a positive relation between employee and employer. Therefore, even economic condition is a major factor that will decide the positive as well as negative relation between the employee and employer, which will lead to the industrial relations. Hope you have understood the fourth factor. Next, fifth one is psychological factor. What is psychological factor? Mindset. This is nothing but mindset, perception, attitudes of both workers and management determine the outcome of their interaction. It means, see, the worker or the employee will say that I will work more if you pay me incentive, whereas employer will always think of his profit. Okay, he always thinks of his profit. If at all he is not under profit, he will not pay incentives, then again this will lead to the negative impact. Therefore, see, if the psychological factor, that is the mindset of the employee, is more, or he is in positive thinking, then he will work more. This will lead to positive impact. If the same is wrong with the employer, then it will lead to negative impact. If you want to go in detail, you can read it from the handouts. We will provide it in the form of PDF. You can download it from the Telegram channel. There is another sixth factor, ideological factor. Economic policy. What is this economic policy? Economic policies of the government manifest its philosophy, approach towards workers, employers, and affect employer and employee relations. That means, see, always economic policies will be in the favor of employer as well as employee, but some of the times it is in more favor of employee and not in the favor of employer. Now, the employer will try to skip this economic policy, then it will lead to a negative impact. If we will implement this, then he will lead to a positive impact. If you want to go in detail, you can read it from this. Okay, there is a concept of global village also. See, there are few other factors that will decide. First, eighth is political parties. How is the international relations? Right. So for today, we will be ending it by here. In the next video lectures, we will be covering some important terms as well as some of the acts that are important for the exams. If you are new to our channel, please do subscribe. Thanks for watching the video, and most of the playlist link we are provided in the descriptions. You can check that. Also join the Telegram channel to get the notifications. Thank you.